Hey guys, Jesse here.
And Matt.
And we're bringing you another list doctor. So in today's list, we had one of our listeners from actually the UK send in a list. It's 1650. He is doing a Space Wolf list, and he's preparing for the upcoming 40k GT circuit that they have over there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we weren't really sure. All he said was they do objectives and modified Maelstrom. We use the Barrier Open tournament packet for the most part. We figure it's the most, the closest, the most comparable thing we can find. So Jesse played a Wave server list. We figured it's a decent all-comer. It just won Nova, so we figured it's a list you might say. So it's 1650, which was kind of an adjustment. So Jesse's here deploying Tamara Naval deployment. There are 3 objectives that all wound up being placed the exact opposite, because pretty much I started placing objectives in your deployment zone, figuring I'm drop pods, I want to be in your face, and then you just, to counter it and make me spread the table, put them back in my deployment zone. And we had to play most of the game in my deployment zone anyway. Yeah, like right in the middle.
Yeah, it was a very middle base game. So I went with 5 Wave Serpents. 2 of them had Fire Dragons. 3 of them were objective secure Dire Avenger units. An Altark, 2 5-man Warp Spiders, and a Wraith Knight. And like you said, he specifically said he was preparing for a tournament, and he kind of wanted to have the ability for to see top table. We figured this would be one. So my turn 1.
And also the list, by the way, are you looking at the video at the bottom?
Yeah, I link them at the bottom of it. So my turn 1 was basically just scooter around the board edge and turbo boost. I had Night Attacker, so I had the 2-up cover save, and kind of just try to mitigate your initial drop.
So yeah, so Jesse's moving away here. Pretty much his plan is just to anticipate my drop. I mean, the whole thing, it's night fight. You have the hollow field, so you're getting a 2-up cover. Which makes my turn really awkward, because then I'm looking at what drop pods do I bring in. Everything I'm shooting has a 2-up cover. So I literally so you move here, you keep your butt along the edge. Obviously, don't give me a chance of getting easy rear armor 10.
Especially since the rear armor, you don't get the Wave Serpent shield.
Exactly. And it keeps me having to drop in the middle. So I actually did deploy something in the bottom right objective, or field you see there. I combat squatted the 1 tac squad. I put the multi-melt on 4 regular guys. They're hiding behind there. And then my 2 lone wolves with Thunderhammer and Storm Shield are both behind there. So my bringing pods in. Pretty much I knew I wasn't going to shoot any real actual shooting, so all I did was get on objectives. I've got both of the objectives on the bottom of the screen are 3-point objectives. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The one on the bottom right is 3.1. The one on the top left was the 3.1. Get guys on objectives and pretty much make you have to play in my game. The blue drop pod and the black one that comes down later are not objective secured. All the Space Wolf ones are the objective secured ones. And you can see I just get on every objective. I make it so you have so many targets to shoot at. And with, a lot of my guys being 10 wound units. Mm-hmm. I can hide them easily. There's a decent amount of big terrain. It could take you a while to get at it.
Yeah, and then, you also drop in, you have consistent threats dropping in. You have that lone wolf with the chain fist that drops in. He's a threat that just kind of locks out that area of the board. You have the Melta-Guns and combi Meltas in your units. So, yeah, exactly. You're always dropping in pure threats.
I was surprised with how well the Lone Wolf played. I really didn't like so I do like the Lone Wolf coming to the drop pod a ton. You can see I put him on the top, and he just jumped behind the wall so he'd be safe. I liked him a lot. The 2-1 foot with Thunderhammer Storm Shield, they are nice because they kind of denial and keep you away from certain board areas. In the same sense, it's meh. But yeah, no, so my whole setup here was just get on every objective. So it was modified Maelstrom. Luckily for me, my Maelstroms were just have objectives. My first one was have objectives, I got objectives. You had to kill stuff, that obviously wasn't happening because I had nothing on the board to shoot at. Because all the guys who I deployed were actually hiding behind the wall. And yeah, I just have to play the attrition. I have to make sure I'm more places than you can afford, than you can potentially be. Mm-hmm. Or make it that if you want to get into a position to do something,
there's a threat.
You've exposed yourself and I can do something. I kept the Centurions out because I was really nervous about them. I kept both the Flamers out because there's nothing to flame. So at least I put the Melta units down, figuring worst case scenario, next turn I can do something with the Melta.
Yeah, and you
as this is pretty much my deployment step at this point.
You played it a lot. I was a lot more surprised with how you played it. I was expecting you to kind of take the tasty bait and go all in, and that was the one thing we've learned.
If it wasn't night fight, I might have.
Yeah, but that was also a big thing we learned in testing is
So you had your Warp Spiders come in. Now you did reserve your Wraith Knight, which I like. Because if the Wraith Knight's on the table, because first blood is this, and this is huge. Uh-huh. If the Wraith Knight's on the table, I'm dropping Centurions down. I got Pressions in the Room Breeze. I'm casting Pressions. I'm lighting it up, and I'm destroying a Wraith Knight. Period.
Yep.
So I do think keeping the Wraith Knight off the table entirely a good choice, especially with the Altark. It makes it a lot easier to control it. As we see that pretty much winds up happening on the next turn.
So one big thing,
I did actually cause 1 hull point.
Yeah, you shot a melta gun. I chose not to shoot
which
Jink.
makes sense. You had a base. You had 6 up cover, and at that point you had your shield up. So it's gonna, I'm worst case I'm gonna glance, and you're negating your own shooting. And First Blood was kind of the big thing so in Bay Area Open, the max you can get is 10 points in a round, 4 points for the primary, which is Scouring, 3 points for the Maelstrom, and then First Blood Warlord Lineberger all were the point. So on top of 2 with First Blood up for grabs, I definitely think you need all the shooting you can. We found out it came down to the last gun.
Yeah, one of the things that I was a little disappointed in was I overestimated the firepower of Wave Serpents. They're so variable.
Yeah.
I think I rolled like a 3 on my shields here, or like a 2 on my shields here. So the overall firepower was a little iffy, and that actually left me out in a bad spot here with that one Wave Serpent. I anticipated the Wave Serpent, between the Wave Serpent and the Dire Avengers, killing that 10-man unit, and that was totally a misassumption on my part.
I mean, it's all armor seats. I mean, it's just 3 ups.
And then it would have forced me to do it because I didn't cause enough casualties. I felt I could easily clean it up with the Warp Spiders. It forced my Warp Spiders to then shoot into your drop pod, so I could at least kill my 2 units and get 2 points on Maelstrom.
So I brought in the 9-man Blood Claws, where I wound up putting my Librarian. The guy who sent us the list, he normally puts Librarian in with Centurions, but I rolled Librarian on Telekinesis, or on Telepathy, hoping to get Gate. I didn't. Invis, I didn't. I got Dominate. But Psychic Shriek's nice. So I put the Rune Priest in with the Sense, and there's the Scent Pod coming in there. It's on the bottom. We just put it on top. And that's the Centurions. And this was what was really underwhelming for me. So I'm like, okay, I have Centurions. They're going to come in and do something. They did really nothing. All they did was absorb fire. They come in, I think they kill 1 Warp Spider, and they cause a Wave Serpent to Jink. And then they die.
Yeah, I mean, but simultaneously it forced me to get out my whole army, basically, to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised, but, it is your biggest point sink unit. I just don't, I really like the idea of Centurions and a drop pod, especially with, like, Tiggy or a Librarian. So I'm just giving impressions, that's it. But man, I don't know now. I'm a little more up in the air after
if you're going to drop pod them, you have to have 2 units.
Yeah. So here, the 2 Lone Wolves come out to play. They're just kind of making their way across. They actually do become relevant. You get your Dire Avenger out, you fail to fully kill that unit, and now we go to town. That Chain Fist guy comes back there. He had a Chain Fist and Combi Melton. I shot the Combi Melton. That's it.
That was another play that I should have been smarter on. I should have moved my Wave Serpent further back, so if you charge me, you don't stay in cover. Because that actually, I think, cost me on this particular turn. Because if I'm not mistaken, I caused 2 wounds to your Lone Wolf, and you save them both with 4 up cover.
2 4-ups, yeah.
So, but the Centurion.
I don't think you had because you moved max 12. I don't think you would have been able to move it farther. Remember, he was all lined up over there.
Yeah,
could be interesting.
Exactly. I think it's actually I can move it just a little under 12 and stay further back.
So this is why I will say one thing I didn't like. So you bring in the Wraith Knight for shooting. You wind up shooting the Wraith Knight into the Lone Wolf. And I'm not necessarily opposed
and I shot
that.
it first.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. So he's in a position to shoot at the Scent if you need him, or the Lone Wolf. I think I shoot the Wraith Knight because he's the most impactful shot. I think I shoot it last because he can't instant kill it. It's Eternal Warrior now. So I think I shoot him last, and you wind up leaving me a Centurion with 1 wound left, and that Scent winds up causing 4 wounds later. We'll see that later. So here, you push your Warp Spiders around. You actually lost a Warp Spider jumping, so now you're down to 2 in that unit as my Flamer Blood Claws came in. So you get 2 Warp Spiders and 6. I will say, I think you let the unit in the bottom corner and sitting on 3-point objective, I think you let them go a little long.
Yeah, I agree. I should have.
Also, the unit up top too.
One of the big problems
on that objective, I think you gave me out of a possible 12 points, you just conceded 5 for the most part.
But one of the big problems I run into is you have 2 Lone Wolves over there protecting that guy, and those Lone Wolves ended up being a huge part of my head because I'm like a huge thing in my head. I'm like, okay, if I move over there to threaten this 5-man unit, I have 2 guys with Thunderhammer Storm Shield that are going to charge me. And the way the terrain was, it's not like I can get a good beat off shooting them. and not worry about getting charged. So in order for me to shoot them, I got to put myself in threat range of those lone wolves. And frankly, I was like, I don't think a 5-man squad is worth. I don't think the 5-man squad is worth the losing a serpent for it.
I mean, I will say, so some of the Grey Hunter units had like intertwined close combat weapons. They were really nice in the turns I shot or assaulted. They were really bad in the turns I wanted to shoot because now I only have bolt pistols. Mm-hmm. Wasn't a huge fan of it. Like, well, it was great for the combat, but then like I fell back and those guys are kind of useless because they're just sitting there with bolt pistols. I'm like, I can't shoot you. You're more than 12 inches away from me.
I mean,
and I'm not leaving this objective by any means. So.
But one of the big things is that Centurion unit forced me to you forced my hand, and that's the Centurion unit. Whereas it didn't do much, I still like it because it forced me to play honest. Whereas Eldar don't want to do that. Yeah. You know, it forced me to get out in the middle, forced me to deal with them. I had to deploy.
It bought turns.
Yeah.
So that was the assault. I was able to take that out. I wrecked it. I wound up losing my lone wolf in combat. He charged in. You swung first. You caused 1 wound. I failed an armor save and feel no pain. And that was huge. If it wasn't for that, I think this game is handily mine.
Yeah.
Because then I just went on pride because I had that drop pod up there the whole time. So now you fight your fire dragons up there. Right when that comes to play, you get in position to try to clean up.
So my initial thought here is, okay, dump everything into the blood claws. This will be fine. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. How will this work? Like I start looking at, I'm like, okay, well I'm going to shoot. If I don't kill them out, they're just going to assault me and kill me. So I now have to pull my wave serpent back. Like I can't be aggressive because at the end of the day, Marines still chew up wave serpents in combat. That's those crack grenades. I mean, they'll eventually glance you out. Strength 6 on the rear armor 10. They'll glance or pen, but you're not really worried about the pen results. But it's enough, not getting any saves. So I have to now back up and play defensive. And now, going through my head, I'm like, well, which objectives do I focus on? Do I I have to try to contest one of yours, or I have to hold mine. And now it's kind of like, okay, well, I have to hold my objectives. You get off the assault with both your lone wolves in the previous turn and kill off my warp sprayers. And that was kind of my fault. I was hoping that you needed a 6 through terrain with the 1 lone wolf, and I was like, okay, he's not going to make this, and you made it. And so I didn't overwatch anything. Yeah. I wanted to really overwatch the 1 wound and hope I got him. But I mean, it's just the thing is you're playing such a grindy list, and
I also don't like leaving this dire render unit so close. I think you're just setting myself like you left them 10 inches away or 9 inches away from me. I moved 5 through cover and then was able to just assault it. I think Psychic Streak was really nice actually to have this game. I really think I hate the fact that I actually rolled a hit as I only successfully did that once out of the 3 times I cast it, but. And so here's the Wraith Knight. It's obviously a concern. You went into combat, killed 3 guys. I failed. I ran back, so I consolidate now. And now you're finally starting to do like the wave servants are sitting on objectives and like all these combi meltas. I just have them. They don't really do much. 2 combi meltas isn't going to take out a wave servant, or 2 meltas aren't going to take out a wave servant.
Especially if I have my shields up.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a jink. Well, you didn't even have shields up, but still 3 up cover. Like I shouldn't kill it mathematically.
Yeah, so I mean, on turn 5, I basically my game plan is fire. Like, so I fired and I really whittled down that squad with all my serpent shooting. I think he had 2 guys left in this. So I'm like, okay, my Wraith Knight will try to clean that up in combat. Now my serpents are going to jump out. So you brought in your drop pod. It finally came in, your blood claws, your 5-man blood claw. And you did the right thing. You came into the back. You tried to put an objective secure drop pod on my objective.
Yeah, I mean, I did it so the whole reason is because I already have the 3 objectives on my side of the field, and I was just destroying you on Maelstrom. So at that point, even if we split the primary, I have Maelstrom, you have 2 secondaries to my 1. So I did that just to draw your. I mean, obviously it's strategic, but my mindset is if you kill them all, fantastic. If you don't kill them all, which
I end up doing. I mean, but the problem is that's the exact problem. You're sitting on 3 objectives. I'm sitting on 3. I'm like, okay, I will win. I win on primary. And I was like, wait a minute. And like you pointed out at the end of the game, I'm like, oh, that's right. But then even when we were sitting there looking at it, those lone wolves stop me from being able to just go 30
Jump
inches
and just
across the
do it all
board and contest something and just pray I live, because I'm not going to live against them.
So in the final, we split the primary, which in BAO gives you 0. I beat him on Maelstrom, which I had 3 points. He had First Blood and Warlord. I had Linebreaker, so I wound up winning 4-2. As you can see here, I pretty much just positioning the lone wolves. And if you try to move late game, the lone wolves are there.
Yeah, if the game continues, exactly.
Yep.
So,
You go.
I mean, it basically leaves me in just a tough pickle, but it was a good game. A very grindy list.
But yeah, if you guys want to hear more about our actual Dr. End, 11th Company podcast, check it out.